This is Good Enough for God, how God partners with imperfect people. I'm Dayna, and I'm so glad you're here. We have a huge birthday party coming up for America this 4th of July. We're going to be 250 years old. So we're really getting up there. And I thought this would be a great time to take a look back at the founding of our country and what God had in mind when he went to work in the hearts of our founding fathers and the founding of the United States. And I have an expert on all of this. Are you an expert, Andrew?
I don't know about that. I'm a filmmaker.
You're
I
a
interview
filmmaker.
experts. I
You
interview
okay,
experts.
got
Yeah.
it. Okay, so Andrew Linn, you are a documentary film director. Welcome, Andrew.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Dana. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you sound like a great American.
Oh, well, I guess so. I don't know. I'm doing the best I can, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. So where in America are you from and where are you now?
Yes. So I'm from Maryland originally, born and raised there, but we made our way over to West Virginia. So I've been living here for about 2 years now.
Okay, so we're neighbors. I'm in Ohio.
Okay, great.
Yeah, where in West Virginia are you?
So I'm in the Panhandle, so I'm not that close to the Ohio border. I'm
Oh,
actually closer to the Maryland border. So we just went about 20, 30 minutes in from Maryland to West Virginia. So
okay, so
yeah.
you're northeast.
Yeah. Yep. hmm
Okay. So, Andrew, before we talk about your documentary, tell me a fun fact about yourself and make it super impressive, something that might even make me jealous.
About me?
Yeah.
Then uh I was on Conan O'Brien's show for like a minute.
What? What
Yeah.
for?
So I went to the show to be an audience member to watch it with my sister, and I had actually thought and planned I'm going to make a shirt of myself to try to draw attention to myself so I could get on the show. I was going to put my face and say something stupid, and I was like, I'm not doing that. So I
Yeah.
go there. It was around my birthday, and my nieces at the time I had a cat, and I love cats, and they got me this shirt that with two thumbs, and it says, "This guy loves cats." Um, so so I wore that, and they seated me and my sister right in front row, diagonal from Conan as he's doing his monologue. And
Okay.
Conan makes this joke about cats, saying that all yeah, saying that all cats are I don't know if I should repeat the word, but
Oh,
DICKS.
got it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I was pointing at my shirt, this guy loves cats. And he
Uh-huh.
goes, wait a minute. This guy over here is wearing a shirt that says I love cats. And then anyway, he brought me on. He brought me in front of the camera and hugged me. Yeah, it was real nice. It was cool. It was really awesome. So
Wait, that
yeah,
is super impressive.
yeah, it was funny. I was shocked. It was a great
Wow.
day.
I bet. I mean, I've interviewed somebody who went to school with Chris Stapleton. I was pretty
Who's that?
impressed by that. You don't know who
I,
Chris Stapleton is?
I don't think so.
He's a country singer.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay. And then also somebody who was in the chess club with Elon Musk. They went to
Oh,
school together.
wow.
Yeah.
That's
But
cool.
Conan O'Brien, that's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, he was very nice, you know. He talked to me after the commercial break, shook my hand, and yeah, it
Oh.
was so crazy that he pulled me up on stage in front of the camera, so that was nice. So and that actually kind of inspired me. At the time, I was just a videographer and editor, and I'd had this idea of doing a documentary, and, I just thought, "I'm not gonna do that," and then that kinda encouraged me. I felt like it was God saying, "Do it." I don't know. It kind of encouraged me spiritually to pursue
Yeah.
my dreams of making
Yeah.
films, so,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
great. So, what is the name of your latest documentary, Andrew? And what got you into making films about the intersection of faith, history, and the founding of America?
Yeah, so the name of the film is Church and State, Roger Williams and the Founding of Freedom of Religion. The reason I wanted to make this film, just by and large, well, first of all, I found Roger Williams fascinating. I think he's an unsung hero of America's founding. A
Okay.
lot of people don't know about him.
Yeah.
So I wanted to tell his story and kind of dive into this idea of the separation of church and state. It's been kind of abused and misused in, the past, maybe 40 years, who knows how long, but it's been a while where people kind of use that phrase to mean freedom from religion,
Mm.
and the reality is, I believe the founders intended freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. So
Okay.
that's kind of where I got the idea, because in this day and age, church and state is a confused topic, and we have a rise in our culture of kind of a culture war, and people
Mm.
are trying to destroy our identity as a nation. What was it really? What are we? And trying to take us to a different place than I think the founders intended.
Yeah, I mean, how did we get here? How did things get so messed up?
Yeah, I don't know. I would say
Yeah.
cultural Marxists have kind of succeeded in our country through the universities, through media. There's been an all-out assault on Christianity in the media, in universities, and the idea of freedom from religion seems to be mostly aimed at Christianity. It doesn't really seem to be for Islam or other faiths. It's kind of like you Christians keep your Christianity, your Jesus, keep it to yourself, keep it private, don't bring it into the public space, don't vote your conscience,
Okay.
kind of thing. And that's where I think it kind of developed.
So, would you say that America, it was founded as a Christian nation?
So yeah, that's a complicated issue. I would say that foundationally we are a Christian country. I wouldn't say that we were established like we are not a theocracy.
Okay,
So,
right.
but the majority of the people in the nation when it was started were Christian. And one thing I like to say is all laws are based on a culture's beliefs, right? So if you
Mhm.
go to the Middle East, they have, polygamy that's legal in the Middle East. They
Oh,
have, what we would consider pedophilia legal in the Middle East
what?
because of their religion.
Oh,
Muhammad, he married, I believe Aisha was 9 years old, and they consummated it when she was 12, if I'm not mistaken. So, and the other thing is, if we look at, for instance, Japan, would we say it's a Buddhist country? It's something like 90% Buddhist country. Is the
okay.
government Buddhist? Maybe not, but they're
Okay.
a Buddhist country. So I would
Okay.
say we're foundationally Christian. We're just not a theocracy.
Okay. That's a really good way to put it. That makes a lot of sense. Now, I watched your documentary, and I found it really interesting to hear from the experts that you have on the show. I mean, I learned a lot, and I honestly feel really blessed to be living here, that I was born in the United States. You did a really good job with it.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
Explain who was Roger Williams?
Yes, so Roger Williams, he immigrated here from England with the other Puritans. He was a Puritan himself, a theologian, a politician, and a preacher, and he was a very brilliant man. He settled in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. A lot of people don't know this, but when the Pilgrims fled religious persecution, they established their own theocracy where they were persecuting people who thought differently than the
Right.
Puritan theology.
Uh-huh.
So, for instance, your hair had to be a certain length. You had to go to church on Sunday if you lived in the colony. They would banish people for being too proud, things like this. So it was complete control over your life by the state, which was married to the church. And so Roger Williams is seeing all this, and he fled religious persecution as well from England.
Mhm.
I mean, he wasn't persecuted in England, but he was
Right.
fleeing for the same reasons that Puritans couldn't live comfortably in England. So he saw this and thought to himself, well, this is creating hypocrites to force people by the sword to go to church by the civil state.
Yeah.
Um, of course, if you put a sword to somebody's throat and say, "Do you believe in this?" Most people are going to say, "Oh yeah, of course." Don't kill me. I
Yeah.
believe it.
Yeah.
So you're just making hypocrites. And so he believed strongly in what he called soul liberty or liberty of conscience. And for these reasons, among a few others, differences of opinion and theology, he was banished from the Massachusetts Bay Colony. So he went on, by the grace of God, they wanted him to die in an English prison, but he got away from the authorities and established Rhode Island. So he's the
Okay.
founder of Rhode Island. And as far as we know, the charter or constitution for Rhode Island is the first in world history to have freedom of religion in its charter. So he's really the first person freedom of religion started with in the Americas. He's kind of,
Okay.
yeah, the originator of it all. And I think of him as the first true American in terms of the identity and the ethos of America. He really identified with all that freedom kind of stuff that we so frequently talk about today.
Yeah, it was like they left England and came here and did the exact same thing that
Yes.
they were trying to get away from, and I never thought about, why they were called Puritans and what that meant. Like, they were hardcore. You gotta be pure. You gotta be this particular way,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
didn't sound fun at all.
No, no. It did not seem like a pleasant experience, and, unfortunately, I think a lot of them were well-meaning people. I'm a Christian and conservative, but, I
Mhm.
think Roger Williams had it right, and I think they got it wrong. So,
Yeah. So, you were talking about how it's like they were holding a sword to them saying, "Hey, go to church." Totally just flashed in my mind when I was a kid. I would be laying in bed on Sunday morning, and my mom would come in and she'd be like, "Get up. We're going to church. We're going to church." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, okay." Never got up. I'm not getting I don't wanna go. Our church was so boring. It was a Lutheran church. You know, you're a kid and you're like, "Ah, it's like an hour and a half."
yeah,
So,
right.
and then my dad would come in and be like, "Get out of bed." I'm like, man, he had the sword, and I was like, "Okay,"
Eh,
you
right, right,
know? But later on in life, I mean, later on when I was, like, in junior high, when I got confirmed, my dad said, "It's your choice now what you wanna do. If you wanna go to church or not, it's up to you." And I thought, looking back, that was really great because then I chose it myself
right,
later.
right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I think that's good.
I did a lot of dumb things in between, but, you know, you
Right,
come around. Yeah.
right.
So, did the founders intend freedom from religion or freedom of religion? Or did you answer this already?
I did in a sense, but I can elaborate. So, yeah, a
Okay.
lot of people would say that, for a president to pray would be completely, oh, that violates the separation of church and state. But what a lot of
Mhm.
people don't know, which is mentioned in the documentary, is that the Congress that ratified the First Amendment, immediately following that, had President George Washington have a day of national thanksgiving and prayer. So you would think that would be, to modern interpretation, that's a violation of the separation of church and state. Presidents can't pray, presidents can't do this, congressmen can't do that. Well, we have chaplains in Congress, we have prayer in Congress. They open sessions with prayer. We had prayer in school up until, the 60s or 70s. I forget
Yeah, I
when it
think it
was.
was the early '70s. I remember praying before going to
Right.
lunch with my teacher.
Right. So again, if we had that, wouldn't these people who were closer to the founding have a problem with this? Who established freedom of religion? And
Uh-huh.
and that also goes back to, are we a Christian nation? Why was it the Lord's Prayer? Why wasn't it, the Shahada or some other prayer, right?
Right.
So, again, if people don't know their history, we're not taught it in our schools, public schools, and in universities. People are propagandized and taught to hate America, and all we really learn is slavery and so forth. But if we go back, we can see the foundation for our country, and that, yes, foundationally Christian, freedom of religion, and Roger Williams, who established freedom of religion in Rhode Island, which was, I think, I can't say this with 100% accuracy, but I believe
Mhm.
the founders looked to him in Rhode Island to say, let's use his model, what he did with Rhode Island, for the First Amendment. And I don't think a Puritan who is, trying to convert Native Americans to Christianity would want freedom from religion. I don't think that's what he would want, the
Right.
man who established this.
Right. So, do you think that I mean, Christians, they should be for freedom of religion, right?
I do, yeah, I think so, because what it does is it protects the church and it protects faithful, true believers, the true church, and that was Roger Williams' whole idea. He wanted to keep the church completely pure and separate from the world, including the government, particularly the government, because
Okay.
he thought that it only corrupted the church. It didn't make necessarily the government better. If we look throughout world history, like for instance in England, where the king or the queen is the head of the church, these are largely throughout history were immoral people.
Mhm.
And I show in the documentary a brief history of what was going on in England before people came here. It was ridiculous. You got a Protestant king or queen, they were persecuting Catholics. If you got
Mhm.
a Catholic king or queen, they're persecuting Protestants, and it was the seesaw effect going back and forth.
Right.
And so we don't want that. And as they say, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So most people who are seeking to get into power uh, aren't always the best people. And even in the Bible, in ancient Israel, I believe there was 5 or 8 good kings, and it was only in Judah total and throughout
Only
their
in Judah.
history.
You're right. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
they, and even they had their flaws, and they, would mess up and not do great things. But anyway,
Yeah.
so it's better to have freedom of religion, because another thing that's happened since freedom of religion in the United States
Okay.
is we've sent out the gospel to more nations and missionaries to more nations than any country in history. Sent out more Bibles, been the most charitable country in the history of the world, and we want minimal government so that people can be free
Yes.
and worship truly, and be able to do these things. And if you want freedom from religion, there's a country called communist China where they have that. It's atheistic government. You
Uh-huh.
can be a Christian there under great regulations, under a lot of persecution. But so yeah, freedom of religion is the best way for churches and true Christians to thrive. Otherwise, we're all going to have to submit to one denomination or another that we may or may not agree with.
Right. And so that's all that it means, right? The separation of church and state. That is all that it means.
Well, yes, when the founders were putting it together, a lot of people don't know this. The colonies had their own state-run religions. All the colonies. Virginia was Anglican, Maryland was Catholic, so they still had this going on here. So they didn't want a one denomination federally, ruling the country. And then also at that time, so if you lived in the colonies, these state-run religions, your taxes, a portion of your taxes went to those churches. So if
Oh.
you're a Baptist in Catholic Maryland and you're paying taxes and a portion that's going to the Catholic Church, that's going to bother you because you don't agree with their doctrines.
Yeah.
So that was the main two focuses of freedom of religion and not establishing a theocracy in this country. It would just, most people who came here were persecuted in England or in Europe for all, different denominations of people. So
Uh-huh.
they all came here. We're not all going to settle and agree on one denomination to rule this country,
Right.
So that was the idea.
Are there any faiths, or I don't know if I'm not necessarily thinking denominations, but there's different faith like Jewish,
Mhm.
Muslim. Are there any that don't fit in America and how we
Yeah.
were founded and what we're supposed to be?
Yes. So this is my opinion. Roger Williams believed that freedom of conscience and freedom of religion applied to all faiths,
Mhm.
Muslim, Jewish, whatever. And I agree with him for the most part. Now, however, I do believe that Islam is more of a political system than a religious system. And you can
Mm,
hear
okay.
plenty of people, plenty of imams talking, even in America, in their mosques, preaching that they want to dominate America. And Sharia law is not, and there's no freedom of religion in Islam. It's not compatible with the West. They seek to dominate. They want Sharia law, and these are
Okay.
not the values of the West. And that goes back to what I said, that all laws are based on a culture's beliefs, and it's diametrically opposed to us, the Islamic faith and the West's belief system. Even
Right.
atheists hold to morals that are from the Bible, right?
Okay.
Like,
Mhm.
by and large, and and atheists will say that pedophilia is immoral. They'll say that all these things that Muhammad promoted and Islam promotes, polygamy and so forth.
Mhm.
And death by the sword if you don't believe in Islam. Of course, an atheist would agree these are bad things.
Mhm.
Well, there's a reason you think that, and they won't give credit, but it's because of our biblical foundation. And so
Exactly.
I think it's okay as long as they're in the minority, but I think that it is their belief system is not compatible in a free
Mhm.
society, and we could end up like what's going on in Europe with these no-go zones and so forth and civil
Oh,
unrest. Yeah,
okay. I'm not
yeah.
familiar. A no-go zone? What's that?
Yeah, so in large parts of Europe, like say you're British, there's
Mhm.
certain areas as a British person, an actual grew up in Britain, where you can't go, where Muslims have kind of taken over and created a sort of,
Whoa.
kind of a ghetto or colony within the country where it's dangerous for you to go, or you should. Yeah, it's mainly because it's dangerous.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, and this isn't just going on in England. Several places in Europe there are no-go zones where,
Wow.
yeah, women get raped and all kinds of stuff. So
And I don't think they'd like it if we came in as Christians and occupied, like, their land. I don't think that
yeah,
would go over very well.
right, absolutely.
So, Andrew, do you think that people should be able to talk about God in public settings, like in school, at work, government, whatever?
Yes, absolutely. That's both freedom of religion and freedom of speech. And the First Amendment also says that the government cannot prohibit the free exercise of religion. People think that the public space, again, from this modern idea of freedom from religion, the public space, oh, don't bring your God here. Well, everybody has opinions, everybody has
Mhm.
faith in something or beliefs. And so, you're going to bring your God with you whether you like it or not. You can't not bring your God into the public space. You can be quiet about it, but no,
Yeah.
I believe that as George Washington prayed. We have all these things. If you look at the Supreme Court building, they have Moses. They have other religious figures, but that
Mhm.
to me implies bring your God into the public space, not keep him out. So
Yeah, and it seems like we were a better nation when we had God in more of these places, like, in the schools.
yes,
I was just reading something this morning about, you know, we have our big semi-sesquicentennial, is that what it's called? Coming up.
yeah,
250th
right,
birthday. Did I say that
right.
right?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think
Okay.
so.
Well, we had the bicentennial back
Right,
in 1976. Look at
right.
how different things are 50 years later. I
I know.
mean,
Yeah.
you probably weren't even alive, but,
No, I
um
wasn't, but I know that even in my lifetime, I'm gonna be 40 this year, that things
Mhm.
have, drastically changed in the last 20 years since 9/11. Things have
Sure.
completely changed, so
Yeah. How do you think that we can have a civil debate with somebody over this topic of the separation of church and state? Because
yeah.
it is misunderstood, and there are some people, it's like you can't really change their mind, even if they're Christian, even
Mhm.
when they're Christian.
Yeah, so I'm a Christian and I believe in discernment. Jesus said, "Don't cast your pearls before swine, or
Mhm.
unless they turn around and rend you." There are times, and
Yes, yeah.
don't argue with a fool lest he become one in Proverbs. But so
Right.
there's a time and a place for it. I mean, and we are so divided as a culture that it's just crazy. We have two cultures. We have two cultures. We have a kind of not necessarily Christian, but conservative side who
Okay.
believe in God and believe in morals. And then we have the other side who's just, completely unhinged and just so I mean, this is what Charlie Kirk tried to do and we saw what happened to him.
Mm,
And I
yeah,
would say that Roger Williams was kind of the first Charlie Kirk. He was immediately tested for his ideas of freedom of religion. It drew
okay,
in his colony all these unwanted people from the other colonies, so largely Baptists and Quakers, and he didn't like Quakers. And
okay.
so he was put to the test. Should I get rid of these people? I hate these people. But instead,
Yeah,
what he would do is he literally would row in a canoe 4 hours to go debate Quakers. He never
wow,
banished anybody. He never persecuted anybody. And that's the idea of America is tolerance. And you can't have
yeah,
tolerance by banning stuff because then you can't learn tolerance. We hear these safe spaces in universities. Well, you're raising children. You're not raising adults. If they can't hear things that makes them uncomfortable, then how are they going to live in a society, with multicultural, with all these different opinions and thoughts? So it's going to be hard in this day and age, but I would say, you just got to go about it graciously and with
mhm,
discernment
mhm.
to discuss with the modern populace of our country. So
Yeah, I mean, are you hopeful about the future of our country?
not particularly.
Oh,
I know, I
Andrew,
know.
bad
Well,
Andrew.
we well, I have hope in Christ. Nothing lasts forever, right? We all die, nations die,
Uh-huh,
empires die. Um, I think we got a uphill battle. I'll say that.
okay,
Christians, conservatives, to push back on all this stuff. But we're winning. I think we're in a
okay,
stage of winning. So
okay.
I would say that yes.
So, is there anything else you wanna share about the documentary or anything else that's on your heart about, the work that you've done? I mean, I think you have a really important ministry. You may not think of it as a ministry, but it really is. You're getting the word out.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. No, I just want people, please check out the documentary. It's good, particularly from anybody from like 13 on up. It's
Mhm,
educational, be great for homeschool kids. It's
mhm.
informative, it's historical, and these are facts. I have my bias, of course. We all have bias, and there
Sure.
was a direction I was trying to take the film, which I took it. But by and large, I think it's balanced, it's fair-minded, it's not anything that isn't true. These are real things, and we need to learn this to defend our country, defend our identity as the United States of America as we approach the 250th anniversary, because that
Yeah.
is what's largely under attack is our identity, but
Right.
from both the woke right and the woke left.
Sure.
The woke left tears down statues. The woke right tears down our history as if we were actually the bad guys in history. And Churchill, he was
Hmm.
horrible, and
What?
all this stuff. And we were on the wrong side of World War II. We should have sided with the Germans, not the Russians.
Oh
This
gosh.
kind of thing. Yeah, this is being promoted. So, please, check out the documentary. It'll help you just with things that I learned a lot making this documentary. I didn't know, for instance, that the colonies had their own state-run religions. I didn't know
Right.
that before making this and researching for it.
Hmm.
And this is important stuff for people to know to defend our country, to defend the reasons why we have freedom of religion and freedom of speech. And it's just tools in your arsenal to push back against lies and things and people or whatever that wants to destroy our country.
Right. Do you think America is more than just a name?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's an ideal,
Yeah.
obviously, absolutely.
Mhm.
It's an experiment, and it's changed the world for the better. Without the United States of America, I mean, look at all the things we've invented. I believe this to be true, and I did research it.
Mhm.
Since the United States of America became a nation, shortly after, in about the 1800s, the population of the whole world exploded because of this idea of individualism and loving individuals, protecting individuals, and human rights, all these things that were established in our Constitution, which is completely unique from any
Mhm.
constitution in the history of the world. And it's bared so much fruit that's not only blessed us in this country, but it's blessed the whole world, I believe. And we've done so much as a nation. So,
Yeah, it's like everybody wants to be like us,
yeah. Yeah,
and
right.
and then they wanna come here and then change us.
I know. Yeah. Well, those people I think just want, the money and the good things about America,
Yeah,
have their cake and eat it too kinda thing, but
yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
no, but there was a long period of time where people came here and respected the country, wanted to assimilate and be like Americans in America, and
yeah,
yeah, and the world by and large, yeah, did want to be like America, and we've seen that all over the world, even in the Middle East and Muslim countries. Not
yeah.
as strongly, but, South America, definitely, I know
Mhm.
Brazilians love America. A lot of people look up to us and have throughout history, our country because of what we've done.
Yeah, and I have found it really interesting. The World Cup in soccer is going on right now here in the United States, and I've read so many stories about people who are coming over from like Scotland, England, whatever other countries, and they're like, "What? This place is great!"
Yeah,
Like
right.
they're so shocked, and they're just loving it. I find that I'm like, "What have they been learning about us?"
Right, yeah, I mean, they've been propagandized to hate America, and, they've been through TV and all this stuff, "Oh, it's just a racist country, it's awful, they're murdering each other all the time," and look, in the past since prayer's taken out of school, I believe, we've been on a moral decline as a
Yeah.
society, as a country, but,
Mhm.
still, we still have a lot going on for us, and that's what they're seeing, like, "Oh, wow, yeah, I wish I
Ye
could live here," right?
yeah.
So
We got Buc-ee's. I mean, I saw saw one guy who well, I forget he was from France, and he went into a Buc-ee's, and he was like,
Yeah.
"The bathroom is cleaner than my apartment," you know? And it
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yep.
and the brisket, oh,
Yeah.
really funny. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. Remind me the name of your documentary and where can we see it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's Church and State, Roger Williams and the Founding of Freedom of Religion. You can watch it for free at
Okay.
churchandstatedoc.com,
Mhm.
churchandstatedoc.com. And there's multiple platforms it's on. It's on YouTube, it's on, several others. So yeah, you go there, you can find all the ways to watch it. And yep, that's where to go.
Okay, so if somebody wants to reach out to you, is there any way they can do that or just watch your films?
Yeah, you can info at churchandstatedoc.com, and I'm on social media, Andrew Linn. I'm sure there's 100 other ones, but my profile will have the promoting of my documentary. So
Okay. Thank you, Andrew.
yeah, thank you so much.
Well, that's all that I have for today. I hope you have a happy 4th of July, or maybe you already had one. And I also hope you get a chance to check out Andrew Linn's documentary. It's very, very good. If you enjoyed the podcast, share this episode right from your phone or computer right now. You can text it, email it, share it on your social media, whatever you can do to spread the word. I'd appreciate it. So until next time, I'm Dayna. Remember that God is good and you are good enough for God.